What's up, Tailgaters? My name is Tailgate Nate. Welcome back to my channel. Today, as promised for you guys, I am recording another video. My way too early top 25 for the 2022-2023 season summer edition. It is June 1st. Summer is just around the corner, but you know what else is around the corner? College football. We got less than 2 months. Excuse me, I should say less than 3 months before college football starts. I am so excited. This season is going to be so much fun. I thought I'd update my top 25 for you guys. And if you didn't see the video yesterday, I am predicting all 131 teams this year. So if you guys want to know when your favorite team gets uploaded, please hit that subscribe button, ring the bell so you get notified when I update your favorite team. You can also go back, watch the video yesterday so you have an idea of, kind of when your favorite team could be uploaded. Otherwise, like, comment, share the video. Anything you can, help support the channel, means a lot. Without further ado, let's dive on into my updated top 25 on this lovely, lovely June 1st. So you're going to see 25 through 21, and I'll talk about that in a minute. But we're going to look over here. There are a couple teams that dropped from my rankings. Iowa being one of them. I'd like to see some improved quarterback play from Iowa and Spencer Petras this year. Then maybe I can jump them into the top 25. South Carolina, there's a lot of new things happening in South Carolina. Spencer Rattler coming in, going to be a new quarterback. But they still got some nice talent on both sides of the ball. So that's a team that can absolutely break the top 25 in an SEC that's still going to be really, really competitive. So going to be hard for South Carolina, but they can do it. And then Pitt. Pitt is a team there that dropped out. You see them in my next up because I think Pitt is very close. They're going to be replacing Kenny Pickett with Keaton Slovis over from USC, but they just lost Jordan Addison to USC. So kind of a cycle there between Pitt and USC, kind of a little rivalry there. Maybe they can play in bowl season, don't know what's going on there. But Pitt, very close to the top 25. I think this team can still be really good. Could be a dark horse to push for the ACC as well. But when you talk about next teams up, there's one conference that I'd like to highlight, and that's the Big Ten Conference. There are 6 teams that are this close to breaking into the top 25 in the Big Ten Conference. Penn State, Iowa, Purdue, Nebraska, Wisconsin, and Minnesota. All 6 of those teams are this close. You see down there, I have Penn State, Purdue, and Nebraska listed. But if you have the other 3 teams in your top 25 poll, even if you have those 3 teams down there, Penn State, Purdue, or Nebraska in your top 25 poll, I'm not going to argue with you. All of those teams can be very, very good next season. And when you're talking about teams in the Big Ten West, Iowa, Purdue, Nebraska, Wisconsin, or Minnesota, any of those 5 can walk away with the division title. The division is that wide open. I also thought I'd give some love to the group of 5. So Fresno State, a team on here that returns a crap ton of talent from a team that was really good last year. You also got teams like Utah State, who won the Mountain West, San Diego State, UTSA, even maybe a team out of the MAC like Central Michigan or Northern Illinois. There are a lot, even some Sun Belt teams, Louisiana, Coastal Carolina, some new additions to the Sun Belt this year as well with conference realignment. There are a lot of exciting teams in college football this year, but I think this is my personal opinion of the top 25. And speaking of the group of 5, let's talk about number 25. That's Cincinnati, coming off a playoff berth. Look, we know what this Cincinnati team lost. That team was loaded with future possible studs in the NFL. Sauce Gardner, Najee Harris, Najee Sanders, Desmond Ridder, just Jerome Ford, Alec Pierce, so many great names coming out of that Cincinnati roster last year. Now coming into this year, again, they're going to have to replace that quarterback in Desmond Ridder. Ben Bryant's coming over from Eastern Michigan, so he'll be battling it out for the quarterback battle there. And once they get that figured out, Cincinnati, this is still a team that, can contend for a New Year's 6 spot. Got some work to do, though, in order to get back there. I don't think they're going to make another run at the playoff like they did last year, but definitely can still push for a group of 5 spot. Miami is in here at number 24, a newly ranked team, along with Texas, another newly ranked team at 23. Both of these teams are are sure to have much better seasons than last year. But let's talk about Miami. They found their guy in Van Dyke after Derek King got hurt. That experiment kind of didn't work out, but they're also getting a new head coach, Mario Cristobal, coming over from Oregon. Some other coaching changes happening there at Miami as well, with Manny Diaz gone, of course. But for Miami, again, Van Dyke could be that guy, right? Trevor Van Dyke could be that guy, and I think he's one of the better quarterbacks in the nation this year. When you're talking about Miami, Will Mallory as well, I'd like to highlight him at the tight end position. So some really good talent there for Miami. We'll see what they can do. They can be a dark horse to contend in the ACC. And then Texas here at 23. There's been a lot of hype surrounding this Texas team, and I think for good reason. I don't necessarily think they're going to live up to the lofty 10-win, 11-win expectations some people are putting on them, but this Texas team can still be really, really good. This Texas team can be really good. Of course, bringing in Quinn Ewers from Ohio State. He was originally committed to Texas, so transferring there, not a huge surprise not a huge surprise to any college football fan, or at least it shouldn't be in my opinion. But Texas slots in here at number 23. Definitely could push for a Big 12 title. We'll see what they do. BYU in here at number 22. I've seen places where BYU is as high as 11, and I've seen places where BYU is not even in the rankings. This BYU team seems to be confusing for a lot of people, but I'm going to solve that confusion right now, and I'm going to say this BYU team, they're going to be pretty darn good. Jaron Hall coming back at quarterback could be a sneaky Heisman contender, way long odd shot to possibly win it. They're going to have to replace Tyler Algier, but they return a plethora of talent and bring in some talent from the transfer portal at the wide receiver position. Defense still figures to be pretty solid in that department as well. But after losing so much production from the 2020 season, BYU was really good last year, and they returned quite a bit of that. So I expect BYU to still be pretty good. And if you want to have BYU in your top 15, go for it. This team should still be pretty good. The one thing that I think could hold BYU back this year is their schedule. They have a lot of tough games there on that schedule, so we'll see how that all pans out. Kentucky here at number 21. You're going to see a lot of SEC teams here from 21 to 16. There are 4 of them, and you'll see the other 3 once we get up there. But for Kentucky, this team returns Will Levis at quarterback, who I think figures to be one of the better quarterbacks in the SEC this year. Played really well last year. This Kentucky team was on fire last year. Of course, they're losing Wan'Dale Robinson, the former Nebraska transfer, has moved on to the NFL, but there's still a lot of great talent on this team, and can't wait to see what Kentucky does in 2022. Moving on now to the top 20. Here are the other 3 SEC teams you're going to see. Ole Miss, Tennessee, and Arkansas up here. I'll kind of talk about all of them here. Ole Miss, of course, you're losing Matt Corral, losing some other talent as well, but you have one of the best offensive minds in Lane Kiffin coaching. Also bringing in Jackson Dart, a 5-star transfer from USC, I believe was one of the biggest, most beloved prospects when he was getting recruited into college. So he is there at Ole Miss. That could provide a huge boost to the offense that will be missing Matt Corral this year. We'll see how Jackson Dart plays. Tennessee returns a crap ton of talent as well. Hendon Hooker coming back. Lots of great talent for Tennessee, for a team that lost as much as they did last year. I mean, through the transfer portal and with all the things happening at Tennessee, they surprised me in how well they were able to play last year. Of course, losing a thriller bowl game to Purdue. Again, a team that I think could end up breaking the top 25. In fact, was this close to putting them in this list. But Tennessee, as I said, returning Hendon Hooker, lots of talent on both sides of the ball. And under Josh Heupel, this Tennessee offense could take off this year. We know what Josh Heupel did with his time at UCF, who also is pretty darn close to making the top 25 as well. But Houston here at number 18. For Houston, I think this is probably the best team in the group of 5, maybe minus BYU. I know I have BYU rated below them, but Houston, look at the talent that's coming back on this team, right? Nathaniel Dell, Clayton Tune, Alton McCaskill, just to name a few players. When you look at the defensive side, they're losing that rusher on the defensive line, but other than that, Houston's got some great talent coming back. Some great talent coming in as well. This Houston team figures to be pretty good and probably is the best team in the American, although you have UCF and Cincinnati there as well. Of course, you saw Cincinnati at 25. Arkansas is at 17, and I think in order for Arkansas to take that next step, they already took a huge step up under Sam Pittman, who I think has done a phenomenal job with this Arkansas program. But I think the thing that Arkansas needs is for KJ Jefferson to stay healthy, be healthy. Yeah, I mean, simple as that, right? Stay healthy. Well, easier said than done in a game as physical as football. But for Arkansas, also for KJ Jefferson to, yes, stay healthy, but to take that next step, to really elevate the way that he plays. And if he can do those things, I think Arkansas can figure to be pretty good next year. Maybe push for a spot in the New Year's Six Bowl, be kind of a dark horse team to do that. Wake Forest is here at 16. They have a lot of talent coming back. Sam Hartman, A.T. Perry as well. Lots of great talent from this Wake Forest team coming in. We know what they did last year, made it to the ACC championship game, and we'll see if they can repeat that in 2022. Moving on now to the top 15. I got Michigan State in here at number 15. This Michigan State team still figures to be pretty good. Peyton Thorne coming back at quarterback. I believe it's also Naylor that is coming back there as well. And I believe Jaden Reed is gone. It's one of the two, Reed or Naylor. One of them's gone. One of them's coming back. But either way, a huge gain for Michigan State. But you lose one of the best running backs in the country. Kenneth Walker was a monster last year, but Michigan State is getting another transfer. They're getting Jalen Berger over from Wisconsin. He, I think, is a pretty good running back, so we'll see what happens there. Still some great talent at Michigan State, especially on the defensive side, returning guys like Hayward and lots of other players there as well. So for Michigan State, still could be a pretty good season. I don't expect them to do what they did last year. And again, we'll dive more into each of these teams once I get there in my 131 predictions series. But for Michigan State, still figured to be pretty good. Slotting them in here at number 15. At 14 and 13, we got the Bedlam schools, Oklahoma State and Oklahoma. Oklahoma State is losing defensive coordinator Jim Knowles over to Ohio State. He has made Oklahoma State what it is today. He's put it on the map. But, of course, you still got Mike Gundy there coaching Oklahoma State. Defense still figures to be pretty good for Oklahoma State. This is the team that, again, can make another Big 12 title game. This is the team that's going to be pretty good. Another team that's going to be pretty good is Oklahoma, even after what Oklahoma is losing. Losing Caleb Williams over to USC, who you see at 12th. I'll talk about them in a minute. Losing Spencer Rattler. But they're getting a transfer. Former UCF quarterback Dylan Gabriel is coming in to be that quarterback for Oklahoma, and you're getting a dynamic player in Dylan Gabriel who can really sling the ball and had some really good weapons at UCF. Has some good weapons here at Oklahoma. I believe Mims is coming back. So some players there for Oklahoma that figure, Oklahoma can be a team that can get back up there after a disappointing season last year, to be honest. Oklahoma can get back up there under new head coach Brent Venables. Of course, Lincoln Riley also going to USC. So we'll see what happens with Oklahoma this year. I think they're going to be one of the more interesting teams to watch because along with the coaching change usually comes a culture change, and that might just be what Oklahoma needs. Again, Lincoln Riley, one of the best head coaches in the country, but Oklahoma figured it was time for a change, bringing in Brent Venables. See what happens at Oklahoma. And speaking of Lincoln Riley and Caleb Williams and USC, here they are at number 12. This team has made so many improvements. Look, you got the best head coach on the market this offseason in Lincoln Riley, bringing in one of the best young talents in the game, one of the best quarterbacks in college football in Caleb Williams, as we've talked about, and then getting him a dynamic weapon to replace the likes of Drake London and Brew McCoy and Jordan Addison, the Bolitnikoff winner last year, along with lots of other highly touted transfers. This USC team is ridiculous. This USC team, boom or bust, already in year one. There are high expectations for this team. We could look back and say, yeah, we overrated USC again, but just the talent that is on this team is unreal. We'll see if they can put it all together in year one. They're at 12. Number 11 is NC State. I know NC State, a lot of guys, and I'd say most polls have NC State in their top 10, if not definitely top 15, which is where they are here at number 11. Not quite ready to put them at top 10 yet, but again, you got Devin Leary coming back, but they're going to have to replace quite a fair bit of talent. Emezi is gone out of that wide receiver room, along with some defensive players that they're going to have some of the younger guys step up, make some plays. But NC State should still figure to be really good. They can push for an ACC title. They're here at number 11. Moving on in now to the top 10. You got the Big 12 champs and the highest ranked Big 12 team, Baylor, in at number 10. Blake Shapen going to figure to take over at quarterback since Bohannon transferred out. But you're losing Ebner, you're losing Smith, you're losing Thornton. Lots of playmakers you're losing if you're Baylor. But you know what? This team still figures to be pretty good and absolutely can push for yet another Big 12 championship. It's a 3-team race in the Big 12 between Baylor, or I should say 4-team race between Baylor, Oklahoma, Oklahoma State, and Texas. I think all those teams are going to battle it out, beat each other around, beat each other up a little bit. And Baylor has a tough non-con game against BYU, so we'll see what happens in that one. But Baylor here at number 10. At number 9, we got Oregon. Mario Cristobal went down south to Miami. So, hey, Dan Lanning is going to come up from Georgia, where he was the defensive coordinator coming off a national championship, right, with the Georgia Bulldogs. And he figures to bring a little bit more of a defensive mindset. And Oregon's got a lot of pretty good defensive players, some very good defensive players over there as well. And then when you look on the offensive side, they're going to have to get a new quarterback in there, and they got what maybe could be their guy. I've never really seen Bo Nix as that great of a quarterback. But hey, maybe he can turn it around in some new colors in a new system at Oregon. They still figure to be pretty good. Number 8 is Texas A&M. Now, early on, a lot of people, myself included, were guilty of this, of overrating Texas A&M because of the recruiting class that they have coming in. Look, there's no denying how good those players are that they have coming in, right? They have recruited their tail off, and Jimbo Fisher's bringing in one of the best recruiting classes of all time. But how many of those guys do you think are going to make an impact in year one? Probably a handful, right? Maybe 4 or 5 if you're lucky. 6 guys will show up prominently on the stat sheet, be able to make an impact. And Texas A&M coming off the season like they did last year, it was a very disappointing season. They did beat Alabama, who were your national runner-ups last year. But again, a disappointing season nonetheless. But I think there's still some great talent on this team. Haynes King, if he can stay healthy, can lead this team and be really good. And then Devon Achane, I think, is one of the best running backs in the country. So this Texas A&M team still think is going to be pretty good. They're up here at number 8. Number 7 is Clemson, and I expect Clemson to be back. I don't think Clemson is going to have a season quite as bad as the season they had last year, but Brent Venables is gone. That defensive coordinator, again, took the head coaching job at Oklahoma. You still got Dabo Swinney, though. He's one of the best coaches in the game. So, hey, we'll see what Clemson can do this year. But you came off a very disappointing year last year. DJ could not get it figured out. The offense just was not rolling out a Clemson pace. And you still finished with 10 wins, 9-3 regular season, along with a bowl win against Iowa State. So we'll see what Clemson does this year. I expect Clemson to be much improved. And, yeah, they can go ahead and win the ACC next year. Or I should say this upcoming year. Michigan in here at number 6, coming off a Big Ten title and college football playoff berth. Losing their 2 best defensive players, Aiden Hutchinson, David Ojabo, are gone. Along with, I should even say their 3 best defensive players, because that safety gone as well. But they're getting some nice offensive talent back as well. Yes, Hassan Haskins is gone, but you still got guys like Blake Corum and Donovan Edwards and others back there as well. At the quarterback position, you return Cade McNamara, you return J.J. McCarthy, and wide receivers, guys like Andrew Anthony, among others. Also, Ronnie Bell, you get him back. He went down with an injury in the Western Michigan game, and he's going to be back. Hopefully he stays healthy this year. This Michigan team is still going to be good, and they very well could see a matchup with Ohio State again in Week 12 to decide the East, much like happened last year. So great that the game finally means something again, right? But Michigan's sliding in here at number 6. Going to be hard for them to get back to the college football playoff, especially with how good Ohio State projects to be. We'll talk about them here in a little bit. Here is my top 5. Notre Dame, mostly unchanged except for the exception of one team. But Notre Dame in here at number 5. Really like what Notre Dame has going on for them this year. First-year head coach Marcus Freeman, and if they so happen to be in the top 5, it's going to set up a top 5 matchup on the road in Columbus Week 1 against Ohio State, who again we'll talk about in a little bit. But for Notre Dame, one thing that fans and other fan bases have been able to say is about Notre Dame is their schedule. They seem to be close or in playoff contention every year, but the schedule is one thing that Notre Dame has really been lacking on, it seems, as of late. Not this year. They play Ohio State, USC, some North Carolina. That's not going to be an easy game either. So Notre Dame's got a lot of games on the schedule to where if they can run the table and, hey, win that Week 1 matchup in Columbus, it's going to be hard. But if they can do it, they got a resume of a playoff contender. So I have Notre Dame at number 5. Number 4 is Utah. And Utah, I am so high on this Utah team. I absolutely love what Utah is going to put out on the field this year. Cam Rising coming back. Lots of talent coming back for this Utah team. I mean, just plethora amounts of talent coming back. Yes, you're losing your best defensive player in Devin Lloyd, but just the way that this Utah team finished out last year, if Utah was able to beat BYU and beat San Diego State, you're talking about a Utah team that could have not competed with Cincinnati for that final spot in the college football playoff. And I think that's right where this Utah team is going to be. They can push for a spot for the playoff. Make no mistake about it. I got Utah at number 4. I'm really high on this team. I love what Whittingham has done with this program. I think Utah's going to be really, really good next year. Georgia, the reigning national champions at number 3. And I know some people are going to say, well, you got to have the reigning national champion at number 1. In this day and age, it's really hard to project towards the future, especially with the surprises and stuff like that. But Georgia still projects really well for the 2022 campaign. Returning Stetson Bennett, who I think consistently is one of, if not the most underrated player in the nation. Got lots of offensive and defensive talent returning as well. That Georgia defense still figures to be ridiculous with some great pass rushers. Also a cornerback that sealed, also a defensive back who ended up getting the game-sealing pick 6 in the national championship game. Keely Ringo figures to be a first-round NFL draft pick. But yes, Georgia's going to be really good this year. I think there are 2 teams that are going to be stupid, ridiculous, almost unfair even in 2022, and that's the 2 teams at the top, Alabama and Ohio State. And if you have Ohio State at number 1, I'm not going to argue with you. A, I'm an Ohio State fan, I'm not going to argue with you. And 2, both of these teams, Alabama and Ohio State, can project out to 2019 LSU levels. Ohio State especially with that offense. Remember how dynamic that Ohio State offense was last year? It's only going to get better. CJ Stroud, that was his first year under the helm. He's only going to get better. Travion Henderson, only going to get better. Jackson Smith and Jigba, only going to get better. And it sounds crazy to say, but it's true. And those 3 guys I just mentioned right there are Heisman candidates, right? They're Heisman Trophy candidates. And I wouldn't be surprised if we see 1, 2, maybe all 3 of them in New York. Well, that might be a little bit of a stretch, but all 3 of those guys could put up ridiculous numbers this year. I mean, just like video game numbers, like video game numbers. This Ohio State offense, yes, they lost Chris Olave, they lost Garrett Wilson, and for most teams, that's a nightmare. That's a nightmare scenario. But for Ohio State, No, it's not, because along with Smith and Jigba, you got Marvin Harrison, lots of other guys in that wide receiver room as well. And the defense should get a boost with new defensive coordinator Jim Knowles coming in. That defense figures to be really well. And Jim Knowles has even said he likes the progress that this Ohio State team is making. And there's a week 1 test already at home against Notre Dame. But the thing about Ohio State is they only get to leave the horseshoe 4 times this year. So road test might be few and far between, although they do go on the road to Penn State and Michigan State. But this Ohio State team still projects to be really good. And Alabama, of course, Alabama's always here. You know what Alabama is going to put out. And again, the talent on this team is also ridiculous. You got you got 2 of the best players in the nation, and quarterback Bryce Young, and just a ridiculously talented pass rusher in Will Anderson. And both of those guys figure to be top 2, top 3 picks in the NFL draft coming up here next April. But this Alabama team, we know what they're capable of. And it seems like Alabama, when you look into it, they're maybe a position away every year. Like maybe they're a cornerback away, a wide receiver away, and then they go get that in the transfer portal. Alabama really, really good at recruiting as well. You guys know the story about Alabama. Nick Saban, in my opinion, the best coach to ever coach the game of college football. They're going to be towards the top for most of the year there as well. Now, they do play Texas non-conference, so that could be a pretty interesting game for them there. But this is going to be the big debate in college football this year. Is it going to be Alabama, or is it going to be Ohio State? You guys let me know what you think down in the comment section below. Bryce Young versus C.J. Stroud, Ohio State versus Alabama. It's the matchup. It's the game. It's the 2 teams that everyone is looking forward to watching this year. And I think they're going to be jockeying for position for that top spot, the crown of college football all year long. Let me know what you guys think down in the comment section below. Hey, thanks for watching this video. Again, I'm predicting all 131 teams. So if you guys want to know when your team is going to get uploaded, make sure you hit that subscribe button and ring the bell so you know when your team gets uploaded. And hey, thank you guys for watching this video. Like, comment, subscribe, share the video. Anything you can to help out really does mean a lot. That was my summer edition, my way too early top 25. Feel free to let me know your top 25 down in the comment section below. Probably is going to look a lot different from mine. But hey, most important thing I want you guys to remember is remember to play hard, but tailgate harder. I will see all of you guys in a couple weeks. I'm planning on, again, we're going to start with the SEC, and 131 teams later, college football will be upon us. Goodbye.